I'm Jim Wilhoit.
And I'm Evan Howard, and we are the authors of Discovering Lectio Divina, Bringing Scripture into Ordinary Life. In this fifth session, we'll talk about what it means to spend time contemplating with the Bible.
Evan, contemplation can sound pretty vague, so help me understand what we mean by this.
I think probably the best way of giving a description is to take an example from ordinary life. We use the idea of presence as being very important in contemplation. What does it mean for us to be present with a person? I'm reading here from our book, pages 109 to 110. Picture you're talking with someone. What is going on during this conversation? At one level, you're simply talking and listening. There is the forming of words, the hearing, the making sense of the words of the other. At the same time, there's another level of activity going on. At this level, you're navigating the conversation inside of yourself. Oh, what does she think of me? Is that question for real, or is she just trying to get information out of me? I like the way her shoes go with that blouse. I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes, but I'd really like to get to know her better, and so on. If you pay careful attention to a conversation, you can actually be aware of both levels at the same time. But there is also a third level. Beneath the words, beneath the questions and the posturing, there is just simply you, present to this person, and this person present to you. Can you feel it? All the thoughts and the words and such lie on top of your simple and fundamental presence to one another. In any conversation, this third level has its own character, just as the other two levels have their own. When the other is a stranger, you are present in a different way than when the person is a really close friend. And the same question asked at the second level, what does she think of me, feels different when you are present to a friend than if you're present to a stranger. Your mood, the state of your relationship, and more all influence the quality of this subtle presence to another. And if you're very attentive, you can actually be aware of all three of these levels of communication at the same time. Jim, what does this contemplation look like in your own practice?
Right.
Especially with Scripture.
In my devotional time, after I have read Scripture, after I've had a time of praying, intercessory time, I simply take some time and sit in quiet. And to make it really clear, I set a timer, just a little digital timer. And what I like about that is that I covenant with God and say, I'm going to be here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I set the timer, and that way I don't have to ask myself, have I been here long enough? Or check my watch. I can just say, okay. And I also don't have to have a concern that I'm going to spend time there and miss an obligation that I have after that. So I have the timer set, and what I do is I very much start that time with a declaration to God that I'm sitting in your presence, Lord. And I also confess to Him that that is a presence of ultimate love, that God ultimately loves me. As I sit there, perhaps from my reading of Scripture, there is a word or phrase that I'll just gently repeat. I'll just allow it to tumble around. Or it may be just a phrase that is a prayer word that I really believe God has given me, and that's what I would often use. Repeating that word gently, just as a way of focusing my thoughts, and that becomes a kind of shorthand for saying, Lord, I'm sitting here. My desire is to be in your presence. Just as I would calm one of my children when they were small by scooping them up, putting them in my lap, quieting them with the presence of my love. Here I am sitting before God, allowing myself, my worries, my concerns to be quieted by the presence of God's love. And that's what I see as a really important aspect of contemplation for me.
So, we have looked in these 5 videos at Lectio Divina, divine devotional reading of Scripture. We have looked, overviewed the reading, the meditating, the praying, contemplation, and then action. Through these 5 ways, we become present to the text of Scripture, and through being present to the text of Scripture, we become present to the God who loves us and changes us.